My name is Callie Hansen, and for my topic I chose math under the Roman Empire. Justinian I was the emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire from 527 AD to 565 AD. He is said to be the last truly Roman emperor of the Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire lasted until about 1453, when its capital Constantinople was captured and fell, whereas the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD due to lack of a strong centralized government, hyperinflation, and wars. That was also the year Italy elected its first king. Justinian is known for many things. He worked hard to try to restore the Western Roman Empire. His generals conquered many territories in North Africa, Dalmatia, Sicily, the southern Iberian Peninsula, among many others. These conquests helped increase the revenue of the empire, but the Western Roman Empire was never restored. Justinian was very interested in theology and was an avid supporter of the Catholic Church. This led to his rewriting of the Roman law. These sets of laws are actually still in effect in some shape or form all across Europe to this day. Though he made many good reforms that protected human rights, even those of women, his zealousness toward the church caused him to force one religion on the people. Anyone deemed a heretic according to the church was denied due process of law and suppressed any opposition and went out of his way to protect the church and its clergy. This included allowing monks to take private property from citizens and for all clergy to receive gifts of money that could be taken out of the imperial treasury or from collected taxes. Obviously, this sort of theocracy would not fit well with people whom they called pagans. The term pagan has a somewhat different meaning now than it did back in the year 500. Pagan is a Latin term that is derived from pagus, which translates to mean country dweller, villager, or someone who is unlearned. This transformed to mean anyone who did not adhere to Christianity and was meant to be derogatory towards Jews, known at that time as Samaritans, Muslims, and really anyone who denied the church. This is probably the more accurate definition for the time of Justinian, so just keep that in mind. The word pagan fell out of use for a while, but in the 1800s it resurfaced to mean creative individuals who drew their inspiration from the ancient world. And later in the 1900s, it was the term used to describe someone who follows the New Age movement or neo-paganism. This sect includes Wiccan, polytheists, animists, and the like. This is the definition we are most familiar with today. Justinian's edicts allowed for any pagans or heretics to be persecuted by either sitting in prison, being burned alive, or even drowning. This brings us to the main focus of my presentation. How did Rome affect the development of mathematics for the Greeks as well as the Romans? To start with, there were 7 main Greek schools: the Ionian school, Pythagorean school, Eleatic school, the Sophist school, Platonic school, school of Eudoxus, and the school of Aristotle. I'll just touch on a few of them. We all know about Pythagoras and have heard of his contributions to math, so I assume we all know he focused on the study of proportion, solid and plane geometry, the theory of proofs, and obviously the Pythagorean theorem. The Eleatic school is interesting. It was founded by a man named Parmenides, and the school was greatly influenced by Zeno of Elea. He is said to have argued against the Pythagoreans, and he made 3 premises. Any unit has magnitude that is infinitely divisible, that is indivisible. He was alive at a time where the concept of infinity was starting to be questioned and attempted to be defined. Zeno created many paradoxes which are known today as Zeno's paradoxes. Some had to do with the paradox of plurality, which deals with finite and infinite sizes and complete divisibility. Another set of paradoxes is the paradox of motion, which has 4 parts. Number 1 is the dichotomy, which is, in order to get to a fixed point, one must cover the halfway mark, and then the halfway mark of what remains, and then the halfway mark of that, and the halfway mark of that. The second one is Achilles. This is the same as a dichotomy, except with a moving point. Arrow is an object in flight occupies a space equal to itself, but that which occupies a space equal to itself is not in motion. Stadium. By taking a small instant of time, this time must be further divisible. The concepts of most of these terms should sound familiar, since they are the premise of infinite divisibility, which we discussed in class, which I personally remember most by the wheel of cheese. The Platonic school was obviously started by Plato in 387 BC in Athens. Plato was not a mathematician, but he encouraged students to study and learn higher maths. His school was credited with the discovery of the method of analysis and the reductio ad absurdum, which is an argument that demonstrates a statement is true by showing a false or absurd result follows from its denial. Eudoxus founded the school of Eudoxus in about 408 BC. He is known to have created the theory of proportion in his attempt to study irrationals. He introduced the notion of magnitude, and he gave the first proof of A equals pi r squared. The school of Aristotle was founded by Aristotle. He first made the distinction between potential infinity and actual infinity. He found the potential infinity is the only one that actually exists. He is also the one who created two laws. Number one, the law of contradiction, such as a statement may not be true and false. And two, the law of excluded middle. A statement must be true or false. There is no alternative. This brings us back to Justinian, who in 529 AD closed down all the schools that disagreed with his beliefs and those of the church. This essentially ended Pagan, remember the definition used in their days, philosophy, and helped guide in the Dark Ages of Europe. The professors from all these schools pretty much left the empire and went to Persia, which helped bring enlightenment to the east while the west was thrown into a shadow. The exact law which shut down the schools can be found in Justinian's Codex, or the Roman law. It states, "We wish to widen the law once made by us and by our fathers of blessed memory against all remaining heresies." We call heresies those faiths which hold and believe things otherwise than through the Catholic and Apostolic Orthodox Church, so that it apply not to only them, but also to Samaritans, Jews, and pagans. Thus, since they have had such an ill effect, they should have no influence, nor enjoy any dignity, nor acting as teachers of any subjects, should they drag the minds of the simple to their errors, and, in this way, turn the more ignorant among them against the pure and true Orthodox faith. So we permit only those who are of the Orthodox faith to teach and accept a public stipend. So, what has Athens got to do with Jerusalem, as Tertullian once asked? After Justinian closed down the Academy of Athens in 529 AD, it was still apparent that the Roman people preferred the teachings of the Greeks to those of Jesus, and many theologians agreed that Christianity would benefit from inclusion of pagan philosophy, and it is well noted that Byzantine Christians stayed true to their pagan roots while still following the Church. In conclusion, it can be said that Justinian was the first emperor to begin the ending of traditions of the pagans and Greeks and opened the gates to the Dark Ages of Europe. And although he closed down many of the Greek schools of philosophy, science, and math, the ideas from Greek scholars were not lost and continue to this day. My final question is, what if? What if Justinian had never closed down the schools and never made the law against teaching pagans? I honestly don't know how to answer this question, since religion and belief systems are different for so many people, and that goes for people way back then too. There were Christians, there were Jews, there were Muslims, there were, people who believed in multiple gods and goddesses. I guess Christianity probably would still have spread through Europe, but maybe not as quickly. I guess this question can only bring more questions to mind, like would America have been colonized if there weren't such a big Christian following in Europe? And if it weren't, how would the Indians have developed America? Would we have technology similar to what we have today if America were discovered by those believing in a religion other than Christianity? Like I said, it just brings to mind other questions, and I can't answer it in a single answer. I can only answer it in more questions.